You're live. Okay. Is the microphone working? Hello, hello. Okay. We're going to make just a very short summary of what we learned until now. The Rebbe brings, the Rambam writes, anyone that doesn't believe in Mashiach, anyone that doesn't wait for Mashiach, he's not only denying in all the other prophets, he's denying in Torah Moshe Rabbeinu. The Rambam brings a proof from Shav Hashem Lekech HaShvuscha and from Parshas Bilam. The Rebbe explains Shav Hashem Lekech HaShvuscha is telling us the Gula is only going to come through the Eibishter. He has to add the proof from Parshas Bilam that emphasizes that the Gula is going to come through Malach HaMashiach. The Rebbe's question is, why does the Rambam need to bring in such a long length all the psukim from Parshas Bilam? So you could say that the Rambam wants to strengthen the Amun in Mashiach by us knowing that also David was the first Mashiach. That's another question. Why does the Rambam need to mention that David is Mashiach? It's only a geya to say that Mashiach is going to come. Why need to mention that David is also Mashiach? The Rebbe explains because the Rambam wants to strengthen the Amun in Mashiach. That when we know Mashiach is not a new thing, Mashiach was already, it's going to make it easier to believe that Mashiach is going to come in the future. But the Rebbe says that you can't say that's the reason that Rambam brings it, because the Rambam here is not coming to strengthen the Amun in Mashiach. Here the Rambam is coming to say how, if you don't, that the Torah says Mashiach is going to come. That's it. For that, you don't need to be machazik the Amunah, you don't need to do anything more than just bringing the psukim. So for that reason, you don't need to mention that David is Mashiach. Also, the Rebbe asks why the proof from Ari Miklot is in a separate halacha. The Rambam could have bring it with the first two proofs. He brings a proof of Shav Hashem Lekech HaShvuscha from Parshas Bilam, and then he brings a third proof that if a Davish is going to make Eretz Yisrael bigger, you need to add three more Ari Miklot. Why does the Rambam bring that proof in a separate halacha? And also, why does the Rambam use the words? He doesn't say Af Parshas Ari Miklot in the Parsha of Ari Miklot. It says Ba'ari Miklot. So the way the Rebbe explains in the Ari is that the Rambam says he's kofer by Torah and in Moshe Rabbeinu. This that he's kofer in Torah, that's the first proof that he brings Sharia Torah Yidolov. This that he's kofer in Moshe Rabbeinu, that's the proof in Parshas Bilam. He searched for that. The Rambam doesn't say anything else, so therefore he stopped. The proof of Ari Miklat is a separate proof. It's a proof from a svara. That's why he doesn't say but Parshas Ari Miklat. It says Ari Miklat, and also he brings it in a separate halacha. Okay, that's what the Rebbe says in the Ari, but the Rebbe says that's a big doichak. Now the Rebbe asks, why is David the first Mashiach? Why is David the first Mashiach? When regarding Nevuah, who's the closest to Malach HaMashiach? Moshe Rabbeinu. So why regarding Mashiach is who's the closest to Malach HaMashiach? Who's the first Mashiach? Not Moshe Rabbeinu that took Yidden out of Mitzrayim. And like he pointed out, the Rebbe brings in the footnote from the Medrash, it says that Moshe Rabbeinu is always ready to redeem the Jewish people, and he's going to redeem them in the future. This is who Moshe is. So why doesn't the Rambam at all mention that he's the first Mashiach? Why David HaMelech? David HaMelech?
I don't know if this is dealt with, but why do I always say David HaMelech? Why don't we say Shaul before?
So that's what the Rebbe mentions. If you're going to say that, what does Mashiach mean? Mashiach means smeared with oil. That's the literal meaning of the word Mashiach.
With oil?
That's what the word. There's a Kohen HaMashiach. Who's Kohen HaMashiach? Who's the Kohen HaMashiach? Why is the Kohen called Mashiach? It means that he's smeared with oil. Why are kids in Tanakh called Al Tigu B'Mshichoi? So Chazal say Eilu Tinoike Shal B'Yisrael. Why Tinoike Shal B'Yisrael called Mashiach? The simple meaning, according to the Gemara, what the Gemara says, Masechah Shabbos, is because the little kids in the times of the Gemara, they used to smear them with oil before they sent them to school. The mothers used to. So I'll take them. And the reason is because they smeared kids with oil. The Rebbe explains why do you call kids Mashiach? Because it says don't mess with my Mashiach.
With my kids.
Yeah, don't mess with my Mashiach. So the Gemara says they're the Mashiach. Why? Because they smeared them with oil. So you're gonna say why isn't Moshe the first Mashiach? Because when Moshe took Yidden out of Mitzrayim, the whole mitzvah of oil, of making the Shem and HaMishcha didn't exist. Right? So that's why Moshe Rabbeinu was not let's say Mashiach. So if you're going to say that what does Mashiach mean, smeared with oil, so you should have say Shaul is the first Mashiach.
Aaron. 1 second.
Aaron Akoyin, it wasn't. He's not. Kohen HaMashiach, yeah.
And David Simon also didn't have the Beis Mikdash. When David was
For sure they had oil, for sure. David was nimshach with oil.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, Shaul also. So the Rebbe's question is, why Dafke David the first Mashiach? Then the Rebbe asks another question, and the Rambam says you shouldn't think that Melech HaMashiach needs to make signs, wonders, miracles, change things in the world. And right after the Rambam says this, the Rambam says the main thing is that Torah is forever and ever and ever. And anyone that's going to add on to Torah, take off Torah, is a Rosh Apikoides. And the Rebbe is like, well, what's the connection? Mashiach doesn't ever make miracles. Very good. So finish the halacha. This, that Torah is forever, and you're not allowed to add or change the Torah. Tell it to me in Hilchos Yisoda Torah, where the Rambam says, how does it come in over here? The Rebbe says it's mashma, like that the Rambam is saying, if you say Mashiach has to make a miracle, like you're changing Torah. You're saying, in other words, Torah is changing. What's the connection? That's one question. Other question that Rebbe said, this is what we learned last week. Regarding a Novi, the Rambam says the same thing. You shouldn't think that how are you going to prove it? If someone's a Novi, he has to make a sign like Moshe Rabbeinu. How did Moshe Rabbeinu, when he came to the Yidden, and he asked the Eibishter, I'm going to tell the Yidden that the Eibishter sent me to send you out of Mitzrayim, right? I'm a Novi. So they're going to ask me to prove it. So you're going to throw your stick and turn it into a snake and this and that. So don't think that when a Navi is going to come, he has to start making miracles and changing things. No, that's not the way you figure out who's a Navi. That was by Moshe Rabbeinu. How do you now want to know how do you prove who someone's a Navi? If he says things are going to happen in the future and it takes place, you know he's a Navi. So the Rebbe says two things. By a Navi, number one, the Rambam doesn't say the main thing is the Torah is forever, and if you're going to add on the Torah, you're going to change the Torah, you're Korosh Apikoidis. The Rambam doesn't say that. By Mashiach, the Rambam says that. By a Navi, the Rambam doesn't say it. Number one. Number two, by a Navi, the Rambam does say, how do you know who's a Navi? By doing a sign, by doing something, by saying the future, and you see that it happens. Why? By Malach HaMashiach, the Rambam says, don't think Mashiach needs to make signs, wonder, miracles, and that's it. Okay, now we're up to Siv Zayin. The Rebbe is going to say over here another question. The Rambam is going to say, what are the signs of Malach HaMashiach? From the signs that Rambam mentions over here, they look like they're very simple things. He says if it's not so simple the way that Rebbe explained it. The Rebbe actually in the Ha'ar over here is Metzayin to a letter where he goes through a very, very geschmack letter. The Rebbe goes through. I'll actually show you in the seif is page. What? Page 12. Page 12. I'm just going to show you fast. I mean, when I was working on this seif, right before I printed this letter came out, this is a very famous letter. I know this letter. I learned it years ago. It's Likkutei Sichos Chelik Ches, page in Mashiach, page 358. Over there, the Rebbe in the inside of the letter, the Rebbe brings the Rambam with the signs of Mashiach that we're going to read now. Yamid Melech Nebeis David, king's going to stand up for us and David, Hoyge Torah, basic mitzvahs, all the signs that Rambam gives for Mashiach. In the footnotes, every word of the Rambam, Hoyge Torah, he's going to toil in Torah. So the Rebbe analyzes what does it mean, Hoyge Torah. Why does the Rambam say that Mashiach is Hoyge Torah? It doesn't say he's going to learn Torah, learn Torah. Hoyge Torah, the Rebbe explains over there. We're going to learn later on. Basically, I'm going to go on. Let's say that Mashiach is going to come before. We're making the achlot at least. The Rebbe later on, we're going to learn the Rebbe in detail each sign. But over here, the Rebbe says, look in that letter in the footnote to look up over here. But the Rebbe explains everything. So you see over here, later I found a Ksav Yad, the Rebbe, page Tov Reish Lamed Beis. You can see the Rebbe wrote everything by pencil. And they gave the Rebbe the letter. The Rebbe could have just leave it. The Rebbe took every single word, and the Rebbe Beguf Ksav Yad Kodesh went through every single sign of the Rambam, and the Rebbe explained word for word. And this the Rebbe is not going to not explaining it. But the Rebbe just in the footnote over here says that 358. But we're going to learn now. So there you see how it's not so simple, these signs. But basically here, the Rebbe asks why, besides for what the Rambam says over here, the Rambam doesn't say any massive things, these great milas of Malach HaMashiach. Here the Rambam says he's going to learn Torah, do mitzvahs in a very strong way, like the Rebbe explains in this letter. He's going to affect other Yidden to do Torah and mitzvahs. He's going to get rid of he's going to fight the Goyim, he's going to build a Beis HaMikdash, take Evan to Eretz Yisrael, and that's it. You can find in Chazal, Mashiach is going to be a massive Navi, bigger than all the Nevi'im, he's going to do this and that. And the Rebbe brings the Rambam himself, in the Rambam, in Mishnah Torah, says in Hilchos Tshuva, Mashiach is going to be a very, very smart, even smarter than Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech said he was the smartest person. Malach HaMashiach is going to be even smarter than him. Mashiach is going to be a huge Navi, closest to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe was the biggest Navi. Mashiach is going to be the closest to him. All these miles here, where it's called Hilchos Moshiach, the Rambam doesn't say one word of all of these big miles. Why not? Why doesn't the Rambam say these midas? So let's read inside. Allah Shalachar is a sivzai. Allah Shalachar is a bilchas malachi. Mamshich Rambam. The next Allah the Rambam continues. Ve'im yamid melech b'beis David. If a king is going to stand up from the house of David, hoige b'Torah. That he's not the way that Rebbe learns. Hoige b'Torah is not. It doesn't say loy Torah. He learns that hoige b'Torah. The way that Rebbe brings from the Gemara. He goyim Torah means if you have like a body and you have levels of skin. The bone is the deepest. Right from all the skin, so to in Torah, there's to learn Torah in a very, very deep way. That's the way Mashiach is going to learn Torah. Va'oisik b'mitzvahs. Here the Rambam doesn't either write, doesn't say va'oisek mitzvahs, he's going to do mitzvahs, rather oisik b'mitzvahs. Like the Rebbe brings over there, whatever, we'll get to it, I think. The Rebbe Bedavke says, the Rebbe is mitzvah, and so we won't elaborate. But he's oisik in mitzvahs, David, Aviv, just like David, his father, according to the Torah Shabbat and the Torah Shabbat. Yaakov called Yisrael he will not only be satisfied with himself, that he himself is, learning Torah and doing mitzvahs in a very strong way. Rather, he's going to force all the Yidden to go in the ways of Torah, and to strengthen the cracks and the breaches in Yiddishkeit. And he will fight the wars of Hashem. If you see such a guy, there's a chazaka that he is Mashiach. Okay? Now, that's only a chazaka. But how do you actually know if he's Mashiach for sure, 100%? Says that Rambam, if he did all the above and he was successful, and he won over all the nations surrounding Eretz Yisrael, and he builds the Beis HaMikdash in its place, and will gather all the Yidden the way they're spread out around all the world, will gather them to Eretz Yisrael. Such a guy is for sure Mashiach. The Yasakin is Eilam Chulu, and he'll fix the whole world. Okay, then having a footnote over here mentions that in all the Kisvei Yad, in the original handwritings of the Rambam, right after the Rambam says that is a Mashiach Bavada, it does not say the Yasakin is Eilam that Mashiach will fix the whole world. The Rambam continues, speaks about if he's not successful, and then he speaks about Yoshke, and in the middle where he speaks about Yoshke, he says that the whole reason why the Eibishter brought Yoshke in the world was only in order to pave the path for Melech HaMashiach and to fix the whole world. So that's where he uses the words the Yasakin es Olam, not right after, but in all the Rambams, because of the censor, they needed to cut out anything that has to do with Yoshke, so they cut out the whole thing. And what did they bring? They just brought the words right after Harei Mashiach Bavada, he is for sure Mashiach. They skipped all the Yoshke stuff and they just said that it will fix the whole world. Okay, now the Rebbe's question is, we need to understand. Why doesn't the Rambam mention, not in this halacha where he says the signs of Mashiach, and not in this whole chapter? This is the chapter the Rebbe says Perek Yud Aleph is called Melech HaMashiach, Hilchos Melech HaMashiach, and Perek Yud Beis. The next chapter is Yemois HaMashiach. This chapter, the Rambam speaks about the person Mashiach. The next chapter is the Rambam speaks about the era, the world, the time. So why in this whole entire Perek, not in this halacha where the Rambam specifically speaks about the signs of Mashiach, and not in this whole chapter where he speaks about Melech HaMashiach, doesn't he mention the massive milas that they're Matar Melech HaMashiach? Now the Rebbe says in the footnote on this word what he quotes earlier. So let's see what the Rambam says earlier.
What was the last one? Into the what?
This chapter is called Melech HaMashiach. It speaks about Melech HaMashiach. This specific halacha is speaking about the signs of Mashiach. So why not in this halacha and not even in the whole Perek? The next Perek is speaking about Yemois HaMashiach. So this that he doesn't mention it over there, let's say the big malas of Mashiach is understood because there he's talking about Yemois HaMashiach. But here he's speaking about Melech HaMashiach and he doesn't mention any of these great, special, unique qualities of Mashiach. He doesn't say anything. Now let's see what the Rambam says in the footnote. The Rambam quotes what he said earlier in footnote. 1 second. How is it over here? 29. So turn the page to footnote 29. Page Dalit. Let's see other 29. The Rebbe says, "Begeres Teiman Reish Perek Dalit." The Rambam writes in the Begeres Teiman in the beginning of Perek Dalit. Rav Yosef Kapach. Shamashiach Novi Godol Me'od. Mashiach is a very big Novi, a huge prophet. Godul Mikol Anavim Achrei Moshe Rabbeinu, a bigger prophet than all the other prophets that came after Moshe Rabbeinu. You had David. So you see, you have Yeshaya, Navi, Chazkiah, you have all these massive Navim, and he's right under Moshe Rabbeinu. His unique quality is the highest level in the levels of the prophets, and the honored mileage, qualities. Right under Moshe Rabbeinu. She's saying how great Mashiach is. This the Rambam doesn't mention. Now let's go back inside. Okay, now the Rebbe emphasizes there, that's in the Geddes statement. Here the Rebbe's question is even stronger. Rambam himself writes in the Mishnah in the Sefer Mishnah Torah. He writes, "A Baal Chochma Yoser Shlomo will be a smarter person, even smarter than Shlomo. V'Navi Gadol who called Moshe Rabbeinu, and a huge prophet close to Moshe Rabbeinu, seif like the Rebbe asked earlier in seif hey, that why isn't quoted this Rambam? Now it's interesting. I thought this over. It says the question of a Chacham is already a half an answer. The Rebbe is asking, why doesn't the Rambam mention over here that Mashiach's a Navi? In seif hey, the Rebbe asks that L'choyre Moshe Rabbeinu should be the first Mashiach. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu, the Rambam says, the Mashiach is the closest to Moshe Rabbeinu in Nevuah. But this itself, that the Rambam does not bring this, that Mashiach's a Navi over here, that itself explains to me why Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't the first Mashiach. If the whole Maila of Mashiach would be Nevuah, and he would say it over here as the signs of Mashiach, then Moshe Rabbeinu would have been the closest to Mashiach. Because the whole idea of the prophecy of Mashiach almost has nothing to do with Mashiach being Mashiach. Therefore, he doesn't mention it in the siman over here in Hilchos Mashiach. And that could explain to me also why Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't the first Mashiach. Okay, now this is mamish very, very geschmack. This next, if this is the bomb, this is the Rebbe till here. The Rebbe is building up another question. The whole thing till Sifches is questions. Here the Rebbe is going to give the answer. And I thought this over on Shabbos. I read it over, and I connected it. You tell me what you think. The Rambam at the end of the whole Rambam uses these words: Nishlamu Hilchos Malachim v'Achibur Kuli. We have completed the laws of Malachim and the whole entire Chibur, the whole entire Yad HaChazaka. Then the Rambam says again, Tam v'Nishlam Shevach Lekil B'Reilim. We have finished, and Tam means something that's complete. Tmimus, like an animal that's missing something, is not a behemoth, it's not a Tamim. V'Nishlam, we have completed the whole entire Rambam. A Sefer Torah that's missing the last letter. Is it a kosher to Sefer Torah?
No.
The whole Sefer Torah is a puzzle of Sefer Torah. It's not that you have Bereshit, Shmois, V'ikra, B'vi, you have so much. No. The whole entire Sefer is not a kosher to Sefer. So too, the Rambam had as a goal. The Rambam started off the Rambam by saying he's here to gather all the halachas HaTorah. Every one of the 613 mitzvahs. That's his purpose of the Sefer. He's the only chibur that made it his goal to have the whole entire Torah. It's not Shulchan Aruch is mitzvahs that are against Managolis. Till the Rambam, if a guy learned, let's say the whole Rambam, and he didn't learn the last two prakim of the Rambam, could he say I learned the whole Rambam? Could the Rambam write I have completed the whole Rambam? No. Till you finish the whole entire thing, it's not complete. It's missing. What the Rambam brings at the end, the Rambam is saying, in other words, this is making the whole book a complete book. This is making the whole Sefer b'shleimus. Without this, the whole Sefer is not a ganzer Sefer. The Rebbe is going to bring over here. The Rambam writes at the beginning of Hilchos Malachim, there's 3 mitzvahs you need to do when they go into Eretz Yisrael. The first thing is to appoint a king. The next thing is to get rid of Amalek, and the next thing is to build a Beis Hamikdash. So what's the first thing? To appoint a Yiddish king. And then to build a Beis Hamikdash. So what's the order? First to have a king, then to build a Beis Hamikdash. Why? In the Rambam, what does he bring first? Say the 8th Sefer of the Rambam is Sefer Avodah. The 9th Sefer is Sefer Karbanis. What does he bring Hilchos Malachim in the end? That's not the order. The order is first should become Hilchos Malachim, and then should come Sefer Avodah and Sefer Karbanis. Why does he put Hilchos Malachim all the way in the end? Okay, we're gonna let's start reading inside. Ches, we can say the explanation in all what we said in all the 10 questions. The hektim Rambam siddur es Hilchos Malachim Malchamis Seyim Malchamis V'sim seif Rayat. We could explain, we'll understand everything through explaining first the reason that the Rambam organized and put Hilchos Malachim in the end of the whole entire Sefer Hayat. The L'cha'oira, we need to understand. The feast say that as manim, according to the time, the order, like the Rambam writes in the beginning of Hilchos Malachim. What does he write? Sholish mitzvahs nitztavi Yisrael b'shas knisas and la'aretz. 3 mitzvahs were commanded once they went inside the Eretz Yisrael. The first thing is l'manis la'melech. The first thing is to have a Yiddish king. Chulu. To get rid of Amalek after that, after you have a Yiddish king. And after you have a Yiddish king, and after you get rid of Amalek, the living is a Beis HaBchira to build the Beis HaMikdash, to build the Beis HaBchira. According to this order, the Rambam should have bring Hilchos Malachim much earlier in the seif. Now the Radvaz says, why did he bring Hilchos Malachim at the end of the whole Rambam? He says, Lefishe din of Hilchos Mashiach, because these are halachas that are connected to the times of Mashiach. Therefore, he brings it in the end. Here, the Rebbe's question is not why Hilchos Malach HaMashiach. The whole entire Hilchos Malachim. Hilchos Malach HaMashiach is Prakim Yudal Yud Beis. 10 Prakim before that are Hilchos Malachim. So why is the whole entire Hilchos Malachim the end of the Rambam? That's the Rebbe's question. So the Dvar says because it's Hilchos Mashiach. It's a law to Mashiach's times. Says the Rebbe, there's many halachas that are beferish not nikeya after Mashiach times. That's number one. In those 10 prakim, there's many halachas that it can't be applicable after Mashiach coming. So not everything is Hilchos Mashiach. Number one. Number two, if that's the case, that whatever has to do with Hilchos Mashiach, the Rambam puts in the end. So the sefer of Avodah and the sefer of Korban should also be in the end of the Rambam. All the halachas of the Beis HaMikdash, or anything that has to do with the times of Mashiach, so that should have been the order of the Rambam, but that's not the way the Rambam set it up. So now the Rebbe says, you could say, according to the Rambam brings in Hilchos Beis HaBchira a couple of times, that you could bring all the Korbanos, even though there's no Beis HaMikdash. Yeah, you need to know that it says that when the Yidden came out of Golos Bavel, 3 Nevi'im came with them, and one of the Nevi'im told him where is the place of the Mizbeach. Another one told him you can bring all the Korbanos in this place without a Beis HaMikdash. Oy bazoi.
I can't even walk there.
Okay, so if you know exactly where it is and you're told and whatever it is. And this is the way it was by Bayis Sheni. Before they built the Bayis Sheni, it was already a Mizbeach with Korbanos without a Beis HaMikdash. So you could say what? So why doesn't Rambam bring Sefer Korbanos in the end? Because you can bring Korbanos now. Like Korbanos doesn't have to do with the Mashiach times, technically. Yeah? You can bring Korbanos now. Okay, so Korbanos, the Rambam doesn't bring it then. But Sefer Avodah, the Beis HaMikdash, Mashiach builds the Beis HaMikdash. So Mashiach, the Minchas Chinuch that Rebbe brings actually says that there's a mitzvah to build the Beis HaMikdash now without Melech HaMashiach. That's what the Minchas Chinuch says. And then it says in Medrash that there was a certain time that the kingdom gave the Eden money and they were building Persia. They were giving the money to build the Beis HaMikdash without Melech HaMashiach, and they were going to do it or whatever. In the end, it didn't actually happen. But
after the second Mitzvah.
Yeah.
You need the paraduma, no?
So the Rebbe brings the Medrash over here. Not the paraduma, the Beis HaMikdash.
No, I'm saying,
But the Rebbe says that's not according to the Rambam.
What do you mean? Listen, don't you need paraduma to everyone's?
That's another thing. That's a separate thing. That's a separate thing.
No, a second. If everybody's tummy, you're allowed to be the carbon.
Certain tumah hotel
Everyone's coming?
That's what it's saying.
Today everyone's coming.
Okay.
So you can bring a carbon.
So technically speaking, we're bring a carbon.
That's why when they conquered the Koiso and the Harabais belonged to us, the Rebbe said out of Pesach, everyone should leave because it's a chiyuv kodesh. You don't bring the kotab shal shachat, this and that,
certain
whatever.
Time of the day. Certain time of the day.
From Chatzai when you mechuyev
a certain amount of kilometers away from the basement.
Be 15 mil away from the Harabais. And everyone left. Everyone needed to go away. Out of Pesach, we wanted to leave their house because if you'd be in that area, you have a chiv to bring the
So by the
carbon.
next year, no?
Because
Tell
they're
me,
clowns
you
and they
tell me.
gave back the
You
thing.
tell me.
Oh,
He gonna bring a sacrifice now. Then Gavir brings a Korban Pesach. What's gonna happen?
I think Bar Kochba brought the Korban Pesach.
Who?
Bar Kochba.
He said
Our
he's gonna come
Kochba,
out.
he already
was
started
He come
doing
Pesach, yeah?
whatever. It's mentioned such things in history. He tried to do certain because he was whatever, but
Because you conquered the Arabais.
he did things right. So Sefer Avoida, Sefer Karbanis, okay, so we could understand according to the Rambam why it's not in the end, because according to the Rambam, you could bring all the Karbanis without Mashiach. But the Beis Hamikdash, according to the Rambam, is the Fedish. The Rambam says here twice, in the beginning of Perikid Aleph and in Halacha Dalet, that Mashiach, by the Hamikdash, Mashiach is going to build the Beis Hamikdash. So, according to the Radvaz's, the way he's saying it, so it's just Sefer Karbanis, okay, so you can leave it in the beginning, but in the end shall be Sefer Avodah and Mashiach. But that's not what the Rambam does. So the way that Rebbe explains over here in the footnote is that the beginning of Sefer Shoftim, the Rambam writes, not in the beginning, the Agdama, the Rambam, the Sefer Shoftim, he writes in the beginning of the whole Rambam. He explains what's the purpose of Sefer Shoftim. He says the words are Echlol by mitzvot shemusurim lasanhedrin chulu v'din hamelech u'milcham ha'isaf. Over there, I'm going to speak about the mitzvahs that are negated to the Sanhedrin and the mitzvahs that's negated to the Jewish king and his wars. Says the Rebbe, this is the way the Rebbe learns it in the footnote. The inside is totally different. But here the Rebbe says, he's speaking about the din of a yochid, the chiyuvim of a melech. To the melech's chiyuv, like in the Rambam, till the end of the Rambam, till Hilchos Malachim, the Rambam is saying halachas are negated to all the Yidden. Stuff that are negated to specific people, so say, okay, that I'm going to leave till the end. Stuff that are negated to the din hamelech, which is a mitzvah yachid, there we can wait till the end.
Sanhedrin is more than one person.
So that's why Sanhedrin is before that. But Hilchos Malachim is in the end because it's negated to one specific, it's mitzvahs of the melech. Okay. In the inside of the panim, the way that Rebbe learns is totally different. And like we started saying before, that when the Rambam puts something in the end, the Rambam is coming to tell you, in other words, with this, you're making the whole entire Rambam, which means the whole 613 mitzvahs, complete. Without this, yeah, you're missing everything. The Rambam is putting Hilchos Malachim in the end to tell you, with this, the whole Rambam is going to become a complete Rambam. Through a Jewish king, this is what's going to make the whole entire Yiddishkeit a complete Yiddishkeit. Without a Yiddish Melech, you don't have Torah and mitzvahs. Before Melech HaMashiach, in general, through a Yiddish Melech, he's the person that makes the possibility to do all the Eibishter's Torah and mitzvahs. That's the purpose of a Yiddish Melech. One second.
So why nowadays?
So this is what the Rebbe is saying in other words. And I'm going to say it outside and later we're going to read it inside. The Rebbe says, who is the first Jewish king to make possible to do all the Torah and mitzvahs, all 613 mitzvahs? This was David HaMelech. He was the one that was a king over all the Jewish people. He got rid of all the enemies. He was going to even build the Beis HaMikdash, but at least he made all the Achanis to build the Beis HaMikdash. The Beis HaMikdash is mainly named on David, even though Shlomo HaMelech built it before, but it's David HaMelech's Bayis Rishon. He was the first person, the first Jewish king that brought all of the Eibush that is 613 mitzvahs, that we should actually be able to fulfill them at Poel Mamish. And that's why the Rebbe explains David is the first Mashiach. Not Moshe Rabbeinu.
He was the first one to bring all this.
That we should be able to fulfill
Most of the
all
mitzvahs you can
600.
do. Most of them is about Kabbanis.
But why not show?
David, he has nothing to do with bringing Torah and
mitzvahs.
mitzvahs. He has nothing to do with bringing Shleimus HaTorah and mitzvahs. If it's smearing with oil, so you'll call little kids Mashiach also. Here it's not. Mashiach is someone. David HaMelech, he got rid of all the goyim. He prepared to build the Beis HaMikdash. Why is David called Dvar Malchus Hilchos Moshiach? The Rambam says 5 times that he was the first Mashiach because this is Mashiach. Mashiach means to complete all Torah and mitzvahs. That's Mashiach. Moshe Rabbeinu Adarabe. Moshe Rabbeinu. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu daven so much to go to Eretz Yisrael? It says in Gemara Soita. he needed to eat Daftazan. He needed to eat some fruits and you know he wanted to eat the cookies baked in Osam, you know, in some bakery over there. He was going so crazy for the food over there. He wanted to do Teirat mitzvahs, which you could only do when you're in Eretz Yisrael. All the mitzvahs at Luis Baritz. That's what Alter Rebbe writes, and it says in the Gemara. So Adarabba, Moshe Rabbeinu, therefore he was not the first Mashiach. Because by him it was missing all the Teirat mitzvahs. Okay, Mashiach now. Take over Miyad Mamish. Be'ezrat Hashem. Next this Thursday, there's going to be a panel in the 28 Towns Gate about the Mechazik learning Rambam. I hung
It's going to be by Jacobson or Townsgate?
Townsgate.
Jacobson.
And stream. Okay, I want to chap Baruch Hu.
What's Gishan? What's Gishan by
What?
What's Gishan?
One second. Amen. Amen. 1 second. Amen. Ya Ishmei Rabba, Mevarach Lalam Lod, Melma Yizvarich. Amen. Amen. Baruch Adonai Hamevarach Lelam Goet. Yeah. Let me just make sure it's just 3 more. Good. And new. Okay.